Hey guys, welcome back. GameStop closing under $20 today, $19.94 on the close, a price that I'm sure many of you thought you would never see. But if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you were well prepared over the last year for exactly the scenario that we're in right now. And so you are loving this price level, and you might even love it if it drops a little bit more. We've been very patient. We've taken a lot of abuse and insults and name calling from the cult channels. That's fine. You know, they got to justify their buy every day, any price stuff by insulting other people who are doing reasonable analysis and saving their dry powder for days just like today. And we are loving this. So let's get into what's going on with GameStop. Could it go a little bit lower? We'll talk about Bitcoin and maybe take a quick peek at the updated discounted cash flow model. If you got a couple minutes, let's get right into it. In this video, we are going to talk about the three big lies that the cult channels on YouTube and the promoters on X and Reddit love to tell you guys. It's things that I've tried to educate you on, to point out how these people mislead you on purpose. And I get it, you know, they're excited about the stock, but there's no reason to be dishonest. We'll go over those three big lies in just a minute. But let's talk about the chart here first, because as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, we have now broken underneath the demand zone that we've been watching for this entire year. Because that demand zone has now been invalidated, we need to delete it and draw a new demand zone, going back to support that the stock had back in mid-2024. With that old demand zone being invalidated and moving the demand zone down to account for the previous lows in the stock in mid to late 2024, we now have the demand zone between about $18.75 and $20. So for me, this is again where I like to buy in the demand zone. It's not a guarantee that it won't fall below that, but if it does, we will assess that at that time. These are the zones where we like to add some shares. We don't like to add shares when it's moving up towards a supply zone. That's when we think about selling, right? But when it is hitting lows, that's when we want to think about buying. And I am sorry if you've been listening to the cult channels telling you to buy over the last year at all of these inflated prices, because you're probably pretty upset at how in the red you are right now. Whereas if you guys just learn to have a little bit of patience, look, you probably got enough GameStop shares anyways, right? Just be patient, wait for the price to get in a comfortable zone. And then however long it takes Ryan Cohen to figure out his plan for transforming the company, you can ride it out with much less anger, sadness, anxiety, whatever you might be feeling this week. There is no anger, anxiety, or sadness here on this channel this week. We have been very patient about accumulating GameStop down at these levels, and I'm looking forward with my dry powder to add some more, you know, between $18.75 and $20 if I'm lucky enough to get that. Could it go lower? Sure, it could go lower if the market crashes. Speaking of crashes, let's look at Bitcoin real quick, because GameStop does have a sizable position in Bitcoin, but luckily not too big. Around 106,000 per coin is their cost basis, unless they've already sold it. But if they're still holding, every 10,000 below that on Bitcoin is a $47 million unrealized loss for GameStop. So we have 47 million times two, almost $100 million of loss, which could show up on Q4. But you know, we got plenty of time. We got till the end of January to worry about that. So if you're wondering why GameStop is being pushed down, this has something to do with it, but it's not everything. Bitcoin's not the totality of GameStop's business. The entire market is under pressure. So it is what it is, but it's good to keep an eye on Bitcoin, and maybe we'll get an update from Ryan Cohen and management in a couple weeks when we have the Q3 earnings and find out if they're still holding Bitcoin or if there were any subsequent events. Now, for any of you who are new to the channel, let's talk about the three big lies, because if you're new here, you might be confused or wondering or upset. How could GameStop be possibly trading below $20? And the reason you might be confused is because I see people push every day a lot of misinformation. And those three big lies have to do with the amount of cash and debt that the company has versus the market cap. Number two, people saying that the company is debt-free. And number three, people saying that GameStop is a safe haven, flight to safety in a market crash, and that all of Wall Street is going to pile into GameStop if the market crashes. 1, 2, 3 big lies. Let's knock them out real quick so that you can be prepared to spot these lies on the cult channels and the AI slop content that you see out on X that get this stuff wrong every day. Very first one, GameStop's cash versus the market cap. You see people say you're getting free shares if you're buying GameStop at these prices because they have more cash than the market cap. And if we just look at stockanalysis.com, let me put it on the screen here. You can go to the statistics page. Yeah, statistics, and go down to the balance sheet section. And you can see net cash that GameStop has is $4.28 billion. Now, these people on the cult channels and the AI slop accounts on X won't talk to you about net cash. They talk about cash compared to the market cap. But the sad reality is Wall Street does not care about cash. That is a lie being sold to you by grifters, pumpers, charlatans, and liars. Nobody cares about cash versus the market cap. GameStop has, as you can see on the screen here, $4.42 billion in debt. It is zero interest debt, that convertible debt. And that is favorable debt. You know, not having to pay interest is a good deal, but it's still debt on the balance sheet. And when we compare cash to market cap, we must subtract that debt. And that definition is called net cash. GameStop's net cash is $4.28 billion. Do not let these grifters tell you that you're getting free shares buying GameStop at 20 bucks. That is nonsense. It's just not true. Having a lot of cash provides a lot of safety margin. It's great for liquidity. It's great for solvency. But it does not mean that the company is debt-free. The company has $4.42 billion of convertible debt. And so number two is also a lie. When people say that GameStop is debt-free, that is just not true. The final thing is GameStop a flight to safety in a market crash. Look, you've seen the market going down. You've seen Bitcoin going down, and you've seen GameStop going down. GameStop does have a lot of cash. It's going to provide them a nice cushion and a lot of optionality to do something cool if the market crashes and Ryan Cohen is able to go buy another company at a discount. That'd be a great use of that cash. However, just having cash does not make GameStop a flight to safety, no matter how many times these people repeat the same nonsense over and over. But the market is not viewing GameStop as a flight to safety. It's going to be walked down just like everything else. So if you are expecting a market crash, the sensible thing to do would be save your dry powder to buy GameStop in a market crash, because GameStop is going to go down if the market crashes. And look, I think a lot of things have been overvalued out there in the market too. And if I'm of the belief that the market is due for a correction, I'm also, for me, going to be saving my dry powder for that day to pick up GameStop at $17, $18, $19, $20, not blowing my cash at $25, $26, $28, chasing a warrant squeeze and all this other nonsense these guys have been pushing on you. So those are the three lies. And that is why GameStop is now under 20 bucks. If you believed the three lies, you know, get some better sources for your information. I get it. It's fun to watch a clown show, but you don't want to be taking investment advice from a clown. Back in July, I showed you guys the DCF model, and we kind of modeled how is Michael Pachter looking at this thing, because I wanted to see, you know, could we create a model to understand where he's getting his ridiculously low price targets for GameStop. And we did that back in July, and no, that was not my valuation of GameStop. We were modeling Michael Pachter. So I told you guys I would come back and do one with some more favorable or bullish scenarios. And so I have updated some of the things on here. Maybe we'll do a video where we run through some scenarios, but this is a more bullish view of a DCF analysis, making some bullish assumptions that revenue has pivoted and that the company is going to be profitable from operations from here forward. And, I'm still keeping it a little bit realistic. I'm not trying to go crazy here. So at the bottom left, you'll see we have in the green box what this model is throwing out as a DCF value under a more bullish scenario for GameStop, around $17. And then if we look in the sensitivity table, you could vary your expectations about revenue growth, operating margin, the weighted average cost of capital versus revenue growth, and get a variety of different DCF valuations per share, depending on what your assumptions are. But I think, at a very reasonable basis until we get the Q3 numbers, and then we'll decide if we got to move these numbers up or down. I'm just looking at like $17 is a pretty reasonable number, and then I'm adding a few more dollars for speculative value, the retail factor, if you will. And so, in this range where we're at right now, I kind of like GameStop. 19, 20 bucks seems reasonable. Could it go lower? Yes, it could go lower depending on how Wall Street is running their DCF, and their expectations that they're throwing into their model are probably not as bullish as what I have here. Maybe they're more willing to push the price down. We will all have to figure that out together. So as always, I don't give you guys trading advice. I don't give you buy or sell signals. I tell you what I'm looking at. It's okay if you don't agree with it. I'm just talking about me, and there's no guarantees that I'll be right, but being patient and waiting for this very moment has been the right play, no matter how many people have been mad at us over the last year. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Tony Denaro. Leave me your comments and questions down below, and I will see you on the next video.